Hello, I'm John Rezik. I'm the creator of the ukiyo.org Japanese woodblock print database. This is a website that I built uh, just over 6 years ago now, and this database is a repository for Japanese woodblock prints all throughout history in a single source. I built this because um, I just love Japanese prints. I love looking at them. I love learning more about them. And my background is I'm a computer programmer, so this was a good opportunity to combine two of my passions. So when I created this database, I was originally thinking mostly for myself. I was trying to come up with something that would be useful for me in my studies and my research. And I came up with this site that was attempting to bring in prints from all sorts of different sources from all over the world. And I wanted this because I found that each individual institution, museum, or university would only have some prints, some types, and we were missing others. By bringing them all together, I could get a much more complete picture of Japanese prints, their history, the artists, the styles, all these things. So, in doing so, I collected just over 220,000 prints from 28 different institutions. And these are different museums and universities and libraries, and even commercial sources like auction houses and dealers from all over the world. These are from places in the in North America and Europe, in and from Japan, and these are sources that are in different languages as well. So English language, or the different European languages, or in Japanese. And a big thing though is that I wanted all this to, be come into a single source and be really useful, um, as sort of a canonical source so that you could go there and learn everything you need to know. So just to kind of show an example, this here is a selection of the prints that I pulled in from the British Museum. And so these are prints that they have already digitized and put on their website, and I'm including them here as well. There's over 9,000 prints just for the British Museum. Additionally, I went through and was able to unify all the different artists, or at least the most popular ones. And so it didn't matter which source the print came from. I made sure that the names matched up. And then that way you can see, for example, all the prints by Hokusai, and in a single source. So in this case, there's over 5,000 some prints by Hokusai. And so again, these are coming from all different institutions all over the world. Just looking here, there's prints coming from Ritsu Macon, Minneapolis, the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, all sorts of institutions. Now, additionally, in the site, you can also search for text. Now, this is a case where this is dependent upon what information the institutions have provided. So in this example, you're searching for a cat. It's finding all the prints that mention the word cat somewhere in the title or description. And this is really up to the institution to provide this. So unfortunately, this probably isn't going to find any prints in a Japanese institution, for example, unless you search for the Japanese word for cat. Now, one thing I should mention is that this website is available both in English and Japanese. I tried to do some basic translation to make it available in both languages to make it a little bit more accessible. So at any point, if you look at the top there, you can toggle between Japanese and English and see both versions of the site. Now, if you were to click on one of these individual prints, you would probably see something like this, and where you can see the print that you're looking at, and then additionally information about the artist, the title of the print, the date in which it was created. All this information is coming from the institution who cataloged it, in this case, the British Museum. Additionally, you can see some images of some similar prints. So you can see the British Museum actually has 2 copies of this print, and there's another impression that came from a dealer. Now, and on the right-hand side there, you see a list of related books. I try to provide additional information that would be helpful for people who are studying these prints in particular. Now, in this case, you can see all these books are very relevant. They're all about Kuniyoshi, his warrior prints, and things like that. So I wanted to talk a little bit about one of the technically very complex things that I did with the website, which was the image analysis. So you noticed in the previous print that I showed that it had a couple related prints. Now, some prints have many related prints. In this case, this particular waterfall print by Hokusai, and what's actually happening here is I'm using what are called computer vision technology to analyze the images of the prints and to find similarities between the images and match them up. So this allows us to see all these different impressions of the same print. So this ends up being incredibly useful because now you can start to get in and really study the differences that exist. So in this case, we have here was about 15 different impressions of this particular print from all different institutions. And the nice part about this is that this matching and this grouping is happening automatically. I'm not going through and connecting these manually, nor am I even having to match titles or artist names. The system is just figuring it out on its own. So this makes it really easy to get it all set up and working. Now, one of the things you might notice here is that some of the prints, they aren't all perfectly the same. There's a couple images here that include additional things in the image, color bars and what have you. And additionally, there's an image of a print there that is actually in black and white. And so all of this, the system is smart enough to actually figure out what this real image is and match those together. Just to show a slightly more complicated example, this is a particular diptych 2-panel print. And in this case, you can actually see that the original that's shown there at the top is actually backwards. They have it flipped. Whereas you can see the correct version down there at the Met Museum in New York. And so this is interesting. The system is actually able to figure out that it's mostly the same, even though portions of it have been rearranged. And additionally, you can see that the system is also able to figure out that there's individual panels within this and find those matches. And it's even able to handle cases where the color is extremely different or even it's in black and white. Now with this, I have it with the system that when you're doing the image matching with this, you can actually do comparisons. So in this case, I actually line up the prints with each other and you can look at it. So in this case, you can look at this one print here and compare it with another one. And you can go back and forth again and again and really get a sense of the differences between those two prints. And one of the things you can easily spot is that there's a whole portion of the top of this print here that's intact, but is missing in this print. So this is a case where being able to go back and forth, you can really more easily see those differences. So additionally, one of the reasons why I did this work with the computer vision technology is I wanted to make it easy to search for prints. So I added this feature to the site where you could upload an image of a print and it would find that print in any institution that existed. And one of the reasons why I wanted to make this is that it can be very challenging to learn more about a print just by looking at it. it may not be clear because you would have to read the artist's signature, you would have to read the title and any additional details and search for that, and hope that the museums had cataloged it matching what you had just read, and that's a lot. It's a very hard process. Whereas, if you're just able to take a photo, the matching can be a lot easier. So I have it so that you can take a photo with your phone or a camera or any other device, and upload it to the website, and you can get back images of the same print from different institutions. So in this case, this is a print I took with my phone, or sorry, a photograph of a print I took with my phone, and you can see all these other copies in other institutions around the world. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the audience. Who is using this website? So as I mentioned, I launched this back in 2012. And since that time, it's had considerable use. Somewhere around 1.7 million users have used the website since I launched it. And additionally, there's been almost 37 million page views. Now, this to me feels very substantial, and that means that there are a lot of people who are interested in Japanese prints, and that by making a resource available, it's able to attract more people to this art form. Additionally, the people who are interested in it come from all over the world. They aren't just based in one place. If we look at it and really kind of dig in, we can see that Japan and the United States are the two biggest consumers of this content, perhaps unsurprisingly. However, additionally, Europe is a major consumer. France, the United Kingdom, Germany, Italy, Spain, they're all major users. But then additionally, you have China, Canada, and Australia also contributing substantially. So it really is coming from all over the world, with people who are using this site, who are wanting to learn more about prints. And it really is a global phenomenon. Looking a little bit more, I was curious to learn more about what ages people are who are using this site. And if we look a little bit, it's actually pretty evenly distributed, with the exception of the relatively younger users. So these are people who are ages between 18 and 44. They're using this site more so than people who are 45 and older. Now, to me, this feels really surprising. I wouldn't typically associate Japanese prints with young people, but definitely a lot of the people who are using the website right now are relatively young. And so I think this is an interesting opportunity. Like, by making a website that is easily accessible, easily understandable, and is easy to find in search engines, and also available in multiple languages, you can potentially attract people who aren't the typical demographic for appreciating this art form. Additionally, if we look at the gender breakdown, it's roughly equivalent, slightly more men than women, but still almost the same. Now, if we look a little bit more, we can, I guess, if we really want to understand who is using this website, I went back and looked at the people who've contacted me over the years, who've told me about how they've used the site, and obviously the website as it exists now is a primary source of information for people who are invested in Japanese prints. Scholars, curators, collectors, dealers. These are all people for whom this website is really proving to be invaluable. Now, it's important though is that we also look at, obviously there aren't 1.7 million scholars, collectors, and curators of Japanese prints, there's a lot of people who are using this website who do not fit into that bucket. So if we want to take a step back and look at those people, of the people who emailed me, and they pretty much break down into two different groups. When these are people who have a print, maybe they bought it at a at a fair, or from a dealer, or maybe one of their parents bought one at some point and it's been passed down through the family. And additionally, that's one group. But then there's another group, which are people who are just interested in the art form. They're interested in Japanese prints, and they want to look at them. They want to learn more about them. And so I feel like most of the people who aren't experts in prints fall down in one of these two audiences. Now, to learn a little bit more about them, so for people who have a print, and of course this may be casual people and also collectors, or even frankly dealers or museums. So these one of the pieces of information that I have is that on the website there have been over the past 6 years somewhere in the region of 240,000 image searches. So these are cases where people have taken a photograph of a print and uploaded that photograph to the website. And so for the most part, those are cases where people have access to those prints. Maybe they own it, or maybe they're seeing it in a gallery, or maybe in a museum, and they want to learn more about it. One of the things I think is interesting, though, is 240,000 image searches. That's actually more than the number of prints that currently exist in the database itself, which really, to me, means that the number of prints that exist in the world is much, much larger than what exists just in museums. Now, that should come as no surprise, but I think it's interesting to get a sort of confirmation of that. Now, additionally, we can see people who are interested in the art style, or particular artists, or subject matter. And one of the pieces of information I have here is that when people visit the website and type in a text search, so the example I showed before where someone searched for cat, or they might search for a particular like Fuji or wave or something like that, and of that there have been 880,000 text searches. So that is a much bigger audience when compared with doing image searches. So so it kind of makes sense that probably one of the larger audiences are probably just people who are interested in the art form in general. Now, one of the things that I've been doing lately is doing some additional outreach to people who are may only be casually interested in Japanese art, or in Japanese prints in particular. And so there is this this Twitter account that a friend of mine made. I've worked with him on this. It tweets out prints from the ukiyo-e database, and it sends it out a couple a day, and people love it. There's currently over 500 followers, and people are retweeting this and spreading it all around. So we find this to be a very fun way to get additional people engaged and get them looking at prints they never would have seen otherwise. So in short, I think there is a lot of opportunity here, that the audience for Japanese prints and for Japanese art on the whole is potentially very, very large. As I showed, it's in the millions of people. So any sort of resource that is able to make Japanese art more easily accessible, available in multiple languages, quick to load, very easy to understand, I think is going to have a tremendous impact on the art form in general. And so, yeah, I'm hopeful that this website will be able to continue to grow and flourish in the many years to come. And hopefully, there can be additional projects as well that'll provide even greater benefits to other forms of art and Japanese art. So, thank you.